Purdue Global Academic Success Center Tutor Training, Unit 4, Navigating Challenges in a Tutoring Session. Our objectives are to understand the types of issues that may arise during a tutoring session and to problem solve to respond appropriately. Section 1, Navigating Atmosphere Challenges. We always want the atmosphere in a tutoring session to be favorable for learning. The fewer distractions, the better. As tutors and students are working from their homes, sometimes public places like libraries and coffee shops, and students often work from workplaces too, distractions may be unavoidable. Some common ones are background noises, interruptions, phone calls, difficulties typing, and even inappropriate screens. In this section, we will cover ways to handle these types of situations. If you are working with a student, and the student turns his microphone on and there is a lot of background noise, such as noisy animals, children, family members, music, or television, let the student know the difficulty you are having hearing him and see if he can move to a more quiet location. Also, recommend the use of headphones with a microphone. If he's unable to move and doesn't have a headset, turn off his microphone during the session and use the chat instead. Remember, this applies to tutors as well. Tutors should ensure they are working in a quiet area with no distractions. It's expected that tutors use audio and video. If you are working with a student and she has to deal with children or other family members during the session, give her a minute or two to handle the situation. But if it continues, let her know it would be best if she could return at a later time when there aren't as many distractions. You may also have the student email the center if that would be easier for her. If you are working with a student who's at work and has to take a phone call, there's a couple options. You can move the student back to the Cranium Cafe lobby so that when he's ready, the next available tutor can work with him. Or you can ask the student to return at a later time when he can work with a tutor uninterrupted. It is important not to wait for the student to take a phone call, especially if other students are waiting for help. If you're working with a student who's not using a microphone and is having difficulties typing, it's best to first help the student turn on the microphone by ensuring that the student has allowed audio and video in the Cranium Cafe. Students can also troubleshoot their audio by checking the settings in the upper left corner of the cafe. If a student shares his or her desktop and has an offensive background picture, or he or she opens a file with an offensive image, it's important to explain to the student that you find the picture offensive and that it is not appropriate in an academic setting. Ask the student to please change the desktop picture or to close the file. Students usually change the picture quickly. And if the student chooses not to, you can stop the student from sharing his or her desktop, and then you can use other sharing options, such as sharing a document or sharing your own desktop. Section 2, Navigating Technology Challenges. Technical issues with audio, screen sharing, and connectivity can frustrate students to a point where they leave and don't return. Being able to quickly find a resolution helps get the session on track and lowers stress. If a student is not able to hear you, first, have him check to make sure his speakers are turned on and the volume is turned up. If he's still unable to hear, try troubleshooting your audio in Cranium Cafe. If the student is still not able to hear, use the chat to communicate. If a student is speaking but you're not able to hear him, help the student troubleshoot the issue. And if you are still not able to hear him, use the chat. If a student is unable to share his or her screen, spend a minute or two trying to troubleshoot. If that doesn't work, you may have the student try a different browser. You can also share a file instead, or you could share your screen. If a student keeps getting booted out of the tutoring room, or there is a long lag time for audio and sharing, first, make sure she doesn't have several different applications open, especially ones connected to the internet. If there are still issues, check and then monitor the Conics Ed status. You can also have the student use an asynchronous service such as paper or project review or Q&A. Thank you. This concludes Sections 1 and 2 of Unit 4. Please continue to Section 3.